The Open Exposure Data Format, or OED, came about for two main reasons. The first is that Oasis needed an input format. Exposure data is the start of the CAT modelling process, and so it's important that users know how to prepare their data. And a few years ago, a well-documented input format for Oasis didn't exist. The second reason is that we felt that the industry would benefit from such a format. Although larger companies will have their own exposure data format defined, others haven't. And we felt there was space for an open, flexible, well-documented, vendor-agnostic data format. We felt that this was something that the industry could get behind and pivot around, and it would help things like interoperability. So that's why my colleague, Aiste, Kalinauskaite, and myself, together with an industry working group, including Oasis, of course, developed the OED. And that's why Simplitium, who are now a part of Nasdaq, funded Aiste and myself to lead that work.
It was a clear need to have the OED format, which is designed for Oasis financial module. Previously, it was used the proprietary format where there was no control over it. So it was really all about trying to incorporate and design the format which would work with Oasis, Oasis MF, and it was very much property focused. The reason for that was that vast majority of model vendors that are using Oasis are designed for the property. So that's where the focus went. And from the very start and outset, OED itself, open exposure data, was going to be open. So it was really designed for the industry in cooperation with the industry itself. So what is OED? OED comprises of 4 input tables: account, location, reinsurance info, and reinsurance scope. So there are 4 of those. And if we look at individual files themselves, we have the account file, which comprises all the policy details, account information, and also special conditions. We have the location file, which details all your locations that you're going to model, including primary and secondary modifiers. And we also have 2 reinsurance files. The reason for having 2 reinsurance files is to enable the users to incorporate all the reinsurance information they may need without having to go into the user interface and edit any information post the data has been imported. So that was the rationale behind having two files as opposed to 1. When the project started, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, and the AAR's seed database is open for everyone, so it's an open standard. So we used a lot of information that's already available and that's been prepared by AAR, looking at their occupancy and construction codes, looking at their secondary modifiers. And from there, the design then went on to including additional secondary modifiers, or looking into additional values within the secondary modifiers that have been available in AAR in the seed format. OED has been designed to be very flexible from the very, very beginning of its format, and was looking a lot of the times at the real life scenarios. So it's not necessarily looking at what's been missing in the other formats, but more about what should really be covered to future-proof it as much as possible. And as a result, OED covers a lot more and has a lot more flexibility that is currently implemented in the Oasis loss modeling framework and in the financial module. OED design is such that you can incorporate a lot of additional information without necessarily having to change the structure itself. And by structure, I do mean the column headers in each individual file. So those can be remain the same as they are, and you just add an additional value in a particular for a particular field. A good example of that would be adding an additional deductible code. So we currently have quite a few. So we have just normal deductibles. We can have a franchise deductible, but we can also have added information already reserved to be implemented for the future homeowners choice deductibles that are used in the US.
Nasdaq played a lead role in creating and curating the open exposure data format. So why, after 18 months of its life, did we hand it over to Oasis to look after? Well, the OED was always created for the industry, by the industry. Although my colleague Aiste and myself led a lot of the work to bring that about, it was always intended as an industry data format. And so it made a lot of sense to us that an open, non-profit, industry mandated entity like Oasis govern and look after that format. And the timing was also good because we had just come out of Eloy's lab project, a project led by Oasis, looking at the specification of the results format, the open results data format, the ORD. And it made sense to all of us, I think, that the same group that governed and looked after that format, the ORD, also looked after the OED. So we're very happy to contribute the OED to the industry, very happy to hand that over to Oasis to look after going forward. And of course, we'll be involved in helping develop that as much as we can.